Hi, I'm Kriss Kovach, and I'm here at Studio Sxsw with Jennifer Czeisler.
Hi there.
Hello, Jennifer. Glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Jennifer is the Vice President of Licensing at Sub Pop Records, and we just want to talk a little bit about what you do. Some people may not understand what that is, so if you want to fill us in.
I am the person at Sub Pop who is responsible for placing our music in film, film projects, TV shows, compilation albums, commercials, that kind of thing. When I started at Sub Pop in 1996, nobody was doing that sort of job, and we were getting sort of random requests, but people would just sort of okay them for a couple $100 or something like that, and then I came along and stepped in and helped to increase the prices, increase our exposure, and let people know a little bit more about.
But you're a lawyer. Did you have training to do that, or is it something you kind of learned on your feet?
So I started at Sub Pop as a legal intern, and I didn't really have any training at all. Actually, there was another lawyer at Sub Pop, and so I asked if I could intern with him because he had a lot of experience in the music business, and so I was sort of the one who discovered that there was this untapped potential revenue that we could have from licensing. So I sort of started the department. But essentially, I need to get the music into the hands of the people who put them in these projects, and then once they decide that they want to use the music, they come to me and just try to figure out a appropriate fee and negotiate a license and that kind of thing.
Was there much of a precedence? Because we were talking earlier about how doing commercials especially used to kill your cred completely. I mean, I think about Michael Jackson doing that Pepsi commercial in the early 80s. It was a joke, and no bands that had any respect did marketing like this. What was one of your first big clients, and how do your clients feel about having their music placed in an advertising arena?
Well, the nice thing about working at Sub Pop is I'm actually in-house, so my clients are artists. It's not really like I don't take on just anybody. I just work with Sub Pop artists alone, and so I'm able to develop a rapport with them, and I think there's a trust factor that has to be there in order for them to trust that I'm not going to exploit them in a way that's going to be detrimental to their career or hurt them and hurt their potential for the long run. So I think that's helpful. Some of our early artists were Nirvana, Soundgarden, that kind of thing. They were from the era that you don't do licensing, and that was fine. That wasn't really what I was working on. What I was working on was trying to get opportunities for our newer artists and developing artists, and they didn't get the opportunity to do a Pepsi commercial. And a lot of them would have liked that opportunity because they were struggling to even pay their rent, let alone have a mortgage or a house or a family or that kind of thing. So I think for the artists that I was working with at that time, I think it just sort of important to get any opportunities because they needed to make a living in order to keep doing what they were doing.
When did you see it change? It seems like in less than a generation, the attitude about selling your music has completely changed. And I see soundtracks like Garden State as having had the obvious impact.
Yeah. Well, that was a big turning point for us, I would say. The Shins were a band that became everybody's darling, and there weren't that many record sales, maybe 70 or 80,000 CD sales or something like that before Garden State came along. But they had that song New Slang that was really important to a lot of people for whatever reason. And Zach Braff picked up on it, and he placed it in the movie, and he actually wrote it into the script, and so we had to discuss that with the band and try to get the band on board because they were had issues about licensing as well.
Right.
But they liked the idea that Natalie Portman was in it.
And there was no negative feedback, right? I mean, how could there be a negative to that?
It was the exact opposite. It was the number of fans went from 100,000 to 500,000, that kind of thing. I mean, it was just an amazing opportunity for that band that a lot of people would have never heard of them had it not been for Garden State. So I was very proud of the fact that worked out so well.
When you're finding music for projects, how does that work? Does a director approach you? Do you approach directors? Do you do it both ways?
It's both ways, really. I mean, we have a great marketing staff that gets our music heard by lots of writers and lots of radio people and that kind of thing. So people are hearing about our music sort of on the periphery, and then I'm actually hitting them directly with mailings of CDs. Today we do advanced streaming of the record so that people can hear it as soon as it's available. So I'm trying to get the music supervisors to listen to it. And then once they like it, then they might choose it on their own. Or conversely, they might come to me and say, hey, I've got this, scene, and we really need, this style of music. We need something, acoustic with a female vocalist, or, whatever it is. Like,
yeah.
They let me know what it is that they're looking for, and then I can sort of pitch them ideas.
So do you think you find artists who are specifically writing music that they hope will be hitting an atmosphere that might be used in that way? Do you find that the industry is now leading the creativity, or?
Well, I don't think that's true with our artists. I mean, even though we have a very strong licensing department, I just think it's hard to, be a band and write for that particular purpose. Maybe there's other bands that are on other labels that are, being directed to do something like that. I don't really know, but it's just such an intimate process that you couldn't really foresee what it is someone is going to be looking for down the pike.
So rather than cheapening the artists like everybody feared it would, it's actually brought the level of incidental music or advertising music up.
Oh, that's what I think. Yeah, I think that the quality. I mean, for commercials for sure, the quality of music has gone way up, but also television shows, the quality of music has just gone through the roof. And I could not get our music placed in television shows in the 90s. It was just nearly impossible.
And what changed that?
Well, I think actually it was the DVD that changed that, because all of a sudden TV shows became not just something that if they went 7 or 8 years did they make money, but 1 or 2 years worth of an episode series could actually go to DVD and generate lots of income. So all of a sudden there was more of an incentive to make these things quality products that would survive a long time. And the way that people used to look at television was, here's one episode and no one's ever going to see it again. For the most part, that was pretty much how TV worked in the past.
So kind of turning a corner, what do you see bands doing? And you were talking about marketing departments having, the electronic press kits. What are you sick of seeing? What do you like to see? Because that's what people want to know here. They want to know how to market their music. So what are you tired of?
Well, I may be the wrong person to ask for that, because since I don't actually place the music, I could maybe be the person who's bugging the music supervisor a little bit on our band's behalf. But I guess the one thing that I would say is artists have to learn to let the process play itself out, because things don't happen instantaneously.
Oh, they don't?
Funny thing, yeah. So, I'll get music into, all of our music supervisors' hands, and I get more response than the average person, because they know me and they know it's Sub Pop, and so they're more willing to listen to it. And that being said, even our biggest artists that do most, have been our biggest licensing bands, like the Shins or Iron and Wine, or Band of Horses, it all took a good 6 or 7 months before things started materializing, and then it's another couple of years for them to really be like a staple for the sort of music supervision industry. So I would just say patience is important, because people just don't have projects waiting for a particular band's music to be used the minute that it comes in the door.
Kind of good to know. Love Iron and Wine, by the way.
Yeah.
He's local too.
Yes, he is now. Yeah.
Yes, that's really nice for us, I feel like.
Yeah, he's an amazing musician.
Tell us something that would surprise us about the job you do.
Well, I guess I would say that how excited the artists are to have their music placed is probably the most surprising thing. That often when I get interviewed or I'm on panels or whatever, people are always saying, "Oh, your artists, is so hard to convince them, to do these things." And it's the exact opposite. I mean, I think when they get emails or phone calls from me, that's some of their favorite correspondence.
Sure.
Because it's just an amazing opportunity. Because not only is it the licensing money or whatever, but it's also the chance to be involved with maybe a television show that they're a fan of, or a director that they love, and they're reaching millions of people. I mean, we can't do that in our business. We don't go to commercial radio, not for the most part, and we just don't have the ability to reach a broad audience like film and TV world does.
Also, the financial side of it must be amazing, because it's almost soft employment. You're not in a van touring.
Yes.
You put it out there and it goes on its own. So.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's the way that the business works typically is that there's a recording that you have to license, and then there's also the songwriting. And since we're in indie kind of world, most of the bands don't have publishers. They're self-published. Mm-hmm. So when we get a license fee, half of it goes to the label for the recording, and the other half goes directly to the band, which is a very unusual situation, because in most things, labels or publishers or whatever are sort of
Hardly Art. Is that right?
What's that?
That venture is called Hardly Art. Is that right? Or is
that
another...
Hardly Art. Hardly Art is sort of a new label that we started. So it's just a new venture altogether.
And those artists are also placing music in TV and film?
Yep, they are. And it's that kind of thing where I was talking about the patience. It's taken a little while for the industry to see that Hardly Art has this quality roster, but now when they see Hardly Art products, they're having the same reaction as to Sub Pop.
What was the reason for that small offshoot from Sub Pop? Do you know?
I think we just, I wasn't, I was a little bit involved in the creation of it, but I think that the theory mostly behind it was we wanted to try something different, knowing that the record industry is changing and the way music gets sold is changing, and it was just sort of an experiment to try,
it wasn't different. Because Sub Pop was starting to seem like the man, right?
Well, in case Sub Pop did come to seem like the man, we could always move over to Hardly Art.
Right. Okay, one last question, Jennifer. I ask everybody this that I interview. What is your restaurant recommendation for Austin? You've been here before.
You know what? This is so funny because you had sort of hinted at this question earlier, and I was thinking about it, and I realized that I have never gone to dinner when I've eaten in Austin, or when I've been in Austin.
Because you just pick off the little buffet party.
I'm just at the taco truck, or
yeah. No restaurant reviews.
I have not. No, I don't have a restaurant
You
review.
should fix that this time.
I know. I would like to, but every time I come here, I am just always at clubs at night.
Okay.
Just don't have time to stop for dinner.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kriss. Great to meet you.
You too.